Hi, everybody. Welcome to Your Health, Your Choice. I'm Dr. David. I am so happy and honored today to have Erica DuPont, the owner and founder of ProTherapy Plus, one of Tampa Bay's most premier mental and behavioral health therapy centers, as my guest today. Hi, Erica.
Hi, how are you? Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So Erica and we have a very similar professional path in that we both take this very individualized approach when we're dealing with our clients and patients. But also we've had a lot of parallels in our professional careers as the years have gone on. We've known each other for about 15 years now. And Erica, besides being the with Pro Therapy Plus, she's also a holistic mama, and she's also one of my closest friends and a true kindred spirit. When we get together, it's usually a very much of a barrel of laughs, and sometimes we even have to contain ourselves. So, but it's just been so wonderful knowing you over all these years. Erica, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Thank you. And thank you again for having me. So a little bit about me. I went to school originally, got my degree in psychology, went on to get my master's in social work. And from there, had a great opportunity to work with a special needs school as kind of their lead behavior specialist who was helping guide teachers as well as parents with kids with special needs. And then I went into some child welfare, and worked with kids in the foster care system and helped numerous families with adoptions, which was just really touched my heart. And then I just knew I wanted to go into private practice so I could reach more people and help more people and work with more diverse populations. And I knew that special needs was going to be a part of that.
Yeah, and thankfully you did that because you are truly an asset to our community, and it's just so wonderful to have you here.
Thank you.
Yeah, so why don't you tell us a little bit about our first encounters and how and about Sydney, who was both a patient of mine as well as somebody who you were working with.
Yes. So Sydney, special little girl, was 5 years old when I had met her. Her family had hired me to come in and work as kind of her personal behavior specialist, take her out into the community, do Target trips and Publix trips with her, but also work on some self-care and behavior management at home. And then also when her family would go out of town, I would stay for extended weekends with Sydney and her brother. And I'll never forget, this is how I initially found out who you were. Sydney had not been feeling well or was sick recently, and it was a Saturday, and I was getting phone calls from you personally, as well as from your staff checking in on Sydney. And those continued throughout the weekend. They were on Sunday as well, picked up Monday morning, just how's Sydney doing? How is she feeling? Is there anything that you guys need? And I was just blown away by that personal touch that you were giving to this little girl. And I just knew I had to meet you. I was like, what practice calls Saturday, Sunday, and then follows up Monday morning to check on their patients? It was just amazing. And that's when I knew I had to meet you.
And so we met, and then if I recall, which any first meeting really should happen, was we went for Thai food.
We went for Thai food.
We went for Thai food because, of course, what else would we talk about if we didn't have some kind of food?
Yes.
And I know you and I are very moved by food. I know that they talk about how there are people who live to eat and people who eat to live, and I know that you and I fall into that second category. So, of course,
Absolutely.
What a perfect way for us to meet over Thai food.
Yes.
And
and chocolate.
Yeah,
that was
get a little
one.
spice going in the food, a little spice going in the conversation, and next thing you know, you got something. Yeah.
Right.
One of the things that I realized really early on is just how much you and I get each other. We philosophically, just our approach to people are, we're people who are very connected with what the mainstream world is saying and subscribe to it, but we also have our own beliefs about things, and that we're not necessarily tied into any one particular belief system, but we continue to make these assessments that both feel right for us and we feel that we can help our communities. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. I love that we're just not inside of any
Right.
box, right? Like we're outside of the box
Yeah,
completely.
and at least, I do sometimes refer to myself with pediatrics, and I try to keep at least a half a foot in the box, because I do, 'cause
Right.
I know, as do you, obviously, following such sound principles of things like mindfulness therapy and all of the other types of therapeutic options that you do, that you've learned through wonderful people through the years. For people who
Yeah.
don't know, my wife Erica. Okay, now there's probably some Freudian slip there. That- My
There was a Freudian
my
slip.
wife Lydia actually works for Erica, and has for years as a social worker. Prior to us opening Holistic Relief, Pro Therapy Plus actually was in this part of the building, as part of, actually, like, as a second location for them. But of course, Erica
Yeah,
has
the
gotten
satellite
bigger than
office.
this and has other locations as well. And so, yeah, I just think it's just so interesting how intertwined that we have been throughout this whole
Yeah.
process. I'd like to talk a little bit now about, maybe some of your, from a personal perspective, your growth and development in our holistic world, holistic spelled with a W, obviously, because we look at the whole picture. But obviously, as time has come on, and you've raised a family, also, as a full disclosure, that Eric and I talk about this openly, so we're not disclosing anything that you wouldn't know, is also Erica's family, are patients of holistic pediatrics and family care, multi-generational, there. So,
Mhm.
why don't you maybe share with us a little bit about what drew you to the medical practice itself?
Well, besides you, when after I met you, I knew that your approach to medicine was just different. And I appreciated that I was going to go and talk to somebody who was really going to listen to me, who wasn't going to rush me out of the office, and really hear what my concerns were, as small as they might be or as big as they might be. Right. And I felt like you took and heard every concern, as a new mom, a brand new mom with a brand new baby, to an experienced mom with a 10-year-old, just as seriously. It didn't matter whether it was a minor concern or a major concern. And I needed that as a new mom, especially. But I also really appreciated your individualized approach to vaccines for families who choose to go that route. I wanted a more individualized approach for vaccines for my boys. And you heard that and created a plan that I and my family felt very comfortable with. And so that was important to me. And the other thing too was I'm all about preventative health as well. And I know that's something that holistic pediatrics takes very care, it takes a lot of care in as well. And so the idea of taking supplements and vitamins and doing things for your body to keep it healthy was exactly what I wanted. I didn't just want to have to come see a doctor when my kids were sick. I wanted to be able to keep them healthy. And that was your philosophy. And I totally agreed with that.
Yeah, and I appreciate so much that you saying that. And part of the reason why I do spend so much time with families during checkups, and if people have seen other pediatricians, they know that they're lucky to get 10 or 15 minutes with the
Right.
doctor. And typically, a
Mhm.
new patient with us spends 45 minutes, if needing more, and 30 minutes for every checkup. Where that's the FaceTime with us. That's not what you're in the door and talking to nurses and checking out, but actually
Right.
being able to do that, because I'm all about education and offering
Yep.
people choices. Okay.
Mhm.
There's very often where things will come up. For instance, if a person has an ear infection, some people may choose to take an antibiotic. Other people may wish to take a watchful waiting approach. Other people may want to be more proactive and maybe start talking some herbal eardrops and some natural remedies, but also knowing that we're there to support the family. So if things are not going right and it's 11 o'clock at night and you need to talk to somebody, that you're not going to call some voicemail and says, like, press one if your kid's puking and press two if your kid's wheezing. It's going to be more of we know you. Thankfully we have access to medical records on our phone, so we have access to what's going on. If you saw somebody else in our practice now, I can look up real quickly and see exactly what they were thinking and what the conversation was about, which I do before I even get on the phone call, before I make return sick calls, so I really know what's going on and not having to start all over. Because let's face it, time is valuable. And for somebody to have to
Sure.
explain something to me that they just talked to a provider about earlier today or yesterday, well, I want to be respectful of people's time so we can have that as well. Yeah.
Sure. And how many times have I called you at 11 or 12 o'clock at night freaking out and
Oh yeah,
panicking?
yeah. So so
Countless.
that's also one of the interesting things about our relationship is that you and I seem
Yeah.
to do a fabulous job of like talking each other off of the edge. I just think back to all the times, and both and for those who don't know, our son Benjamin has high functioning autism, has been a patient of a client of Erica's since very very early on for various things with his anxiety and helping us through his sensory processing issues and some of the other health issues. And just as many people know, Benjamin does have a shunt because he doesn't drain his spinal fluid properly. He's been in the hospital over this, and sometimes as a doctor, I need to talk to somebody and someone just to process with, or just somebody to cry with. And for as much as you've gleaned from me through the years, I just feel so fortunate to have you there as one of that just like foundational rocks for me. And then just to also put up with my silliness and to point things out with each other. And sometimes there's times to laugh and sometimes there's times to cry, and that's true for all human beings. A good cry gets us really far if we need to kind of be able to process through what we're dealing with. And so I do want to thank you also, because it's been invaluable having you as part of our life.
Oh my goodness. Of course. Of course. I think people forget we hear the most vulnerable stories, right, of our patients and our clients. And, we're human too. And so we need that support. We need that support too. And I'm so lucky to have you for that.
Absolutely. Okay. So we will resume this mutual Admiration Society meeting in approximately 3 days from now. But but let's now kind of get in a little bit more about our practices and about you. So
Sure.
You started off with a private with it as an individual, and you have then grown. So kind of tell me about how it was for you, kind of as I similarly went through, how it went from a me business to a we business.
Yes, exactly. It's exactly it, me to we. So when I first started, I was just kind of getting my feet wet and wanting to see how many people I can touch and reach. And then I quickly realized that being a mom and owning a business and seeing clients took up a lot of time, actually. So I needed to bring more people on board in order to continue to reach more people. And I also knew that I wanted to become kind of a one-stop shop for my clients, instead of sending them and all over the town to different providers if they needed a certain service. I wanted them to know that they could feel comfortable getting that service in a place where they felt comfortable. So under one roof. And so in order for me to really do that and make that happen, I had to bring on equally talented professionals that I knew were going to take good care of my clients as if I were seeing them, and really expand that way. So, creating an environment where we can bring in great professionals that have wonderful, diverse backgrounds and are able to touch so many more people in the community.
Absolutely. And we will come back and have you as a guest again, where we can go much more into what those types of services are. That's probably a show in and of itself. And so I'm looking forward to having these ongoing conversations with you.
Yes.
But overall, if you had to say kind of like the philosophy and what you instill in the people who work for you, what would you say it is?
Great question. I think it's that we meet people where they're at. And wherever they are, no matter where they are in their journey, which I think is really similar to the way you approach your patients and your clients, we meet you where you're at. So we bring you in, we hear your story, we hear you where you're at, we educate, and we provide choices, and then we're there for support. So I think the philosophy, truly, if I had to really narrow it down, was meeting people where they're at.
Yeah, and that's so important. And I find that sometimes a family will come in for something, and next thing I know, I'm doing couples counseling with them, or I'm doing parent and family counseling with them, because those things are just like so important. Because I realize, and especially when I work with older kids and adolescents, which really is my favorite population.
Me too.
And to be able to bond with them in just that way, and to develop trust, and that's something that I know that you have with your clients as well. But if it wasn't for for the trust aspect and that mutual trust that we have with our patients and clients and what they get from us, this wouldn't work.
No, you're so right.
And it's about being real. And it's about again hearing where people are at, because if I'm talking to an adolescent, and I'm not going to start talking to them about adding 13 more supplements if the mom's saying I can't get them to take one.
Sure.
So if we don't listen to what people are saying and try to dissect where the issues and how to tackle it, and one of the things that I talk about is how there's the science of medicine, but there's also the art of medicine. And I consider myself an artist, besides the fact that I'm a recording artist and a musician. I look at this very much as the art of medicine is the human interactions.
The human connection.
Sure. And at the end of the day, because as you know, it's those personal connections. Now that I have been seeing kids who are not kids anymore, I have patients who have gone off and get married and are going off to college, and they still want me to be their doctor. I'm the only person that they trust. And so it can be overwhelming at times to realize that someone puts that much trust into you, but gosh, it's such a fulfilling thing. So, I know that you get that very much. So, yeah.
I love that point. That rapport, it truly is. That's the foundational building blocks of any relationship. And I feel like we both go above and beyond to really connect with our clients and our patients, so that they get to know the real us and they feel comfortable with us. And that's when real change can happen and we can talk about real options. So I agree with you.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, Erica, thank you so much for joining us today. I look forward to talking to you again. As I said, we will certainly get much deeper in future times to talk about the types of therapies that you offer, especially for people with special needs. For myself as well, obviously you've seen some of those things, and we didn't even talk about our preconception to infancy project that landed you to these wonderful, beautiful children that I feel so honored to have been a part of being there from a preconception perspective and working with you and Evan throughout this entire process. And then just to see these two, I look at your boys now and I'm like, no, but those are our babies. And, and I know how you feel with Benjamin. Benjamin's he just turned 18. I'm like, what the heck? How is that possible? Because, we're not supposed to age. It is. So anyways, well, thank you so much for joining us again. I look forward to seeing you. Everybody out there, please subscribe to our YouTube channel if you haven't already. Please join us on social media. We're really trying to build a community here, and each and every one of you are an incredibly important part of it. So have a nice day.
And thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Bye-bye.